Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it's time for my client Demi's vlog, and I know we haven't seen one from him in a couple weeks, and it's because he, with all his graduate work, had to take a week off, and so he didn't do any training for a week. And then plus, I've kind of slid this one down. I need to go ahead and get it done though. So the thing is, with the vlogs, there aren't going to be as many client vlogs, and it's mainly, it's not that I don't have some clients who want to do them. It's that, quite frankly, I felt like when I had tons of these, people just quit watching them because, like, man, you got like 8 client vlogs going a week, 9. I had at one point, I think 9 or 10 at the peak of it, of clients doing vlogs. And one, is a ton of work to make these videos. Two, I felt like they started losing their popularity. So I feel like if I keep just a couple of the ones that I really want to keep in, because I think they're a little different, a little interesting, I think it can be useful. And I think the reason I've kind of chosen the 2 I have is because, number one, these are people who've agreed to a long-term blog commitment, and we've discussed it in detail. Number 2, they give a diverse enough set of training goals. Meaning, in the case of Demi, he originally came in to do some powerlifting meets, but he also has realized, look, I really want to get jacked, and I want to spend a while working on getting bigger, more aesthetic. He goes, I've really, since I came under you, I got a lot bigger doing the powerlifting, and I've noticed a difference in the way I'm perceived, the way I'm treated. I'm now one of the pretty big guys at the gym, and when I'm doing my internships or his residencies, I guess, he's like, he's like, fill out the lab coat and the shoulders, and people notice. So, he's like, let's take this further. And of course, me as a coach, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I think what I like with using his, and it's one of the reasons I've continued to do it, is because we've had a couple of different divergent goals, and I think this is very relatable. It's very relatable to a lot of people because they may shift a couple different goals. Plus, what is something I've done with my channel and something I've said for people? I don't think that we should fixate on just a one or the other all the time. I think that if we are going to discuss fitness and we're going to discuss lifting culture, we need to be looking at different stuff. I think it's good, and I think it's healthy for people to say, hey, I want to be both strong and I want to be aesthetic and look good and be jacked. And here we go. Demi being a perfect example of someone who wants to do both, yet he still wants to also do, some powerlifting meets eventually. So this is a great example. And it's also an example of someone who came to you with one set of goals and they got so much benefit in another area. They're like, can we pursue that area? So if you guys want to look at what he's doing there, of course, we did some bench press, we do some incline rows. I have him superset arms. Okay, I have him do arm supersets there. So for those curious why you saw that, he does a extension, then he does a barbell curl. And, in his case, we just use the same weight. Why not? Even if the reps are different, the thing that people need to remember, does it matter if you get 11 reps on one exercise and 18 on the other for a small movement? No, that fatigue works. But I'm really big on antagonistic supersets. I personally feel that for people who are chasing a size and aesthetics, I think antagonistic supersets are money. Okay? I don't think they're necessarily ideal for maximizing our strength development, but we also wouldn't be doing those sometimes on our power lifts other than benching. Okay? But for definitely all of your hypertrophy stuff, because they let us get a lot of volume, they let us get really high work density without interfering with the other lifts. Okay, I've done whole videos on this. And there's something to be said for that pump supporting the other muscles and then helping recovery between sets. Like, I really think they bring a lot to the table as just a hypertrophy tool and just an overall conditioning tool. Because again, if we're forced to do these supersets, we keep our heart rate up, our breathing up. We absolutely add a good conditioning component to our training, to our weightlifting. And again, what should we be looking at for physique culture? I may need to reduce the weight on his reverse hypers here, by the way. These are a little shorter range of motion. I may need to take these down. So what then are we doing on his lower body here? We do some safety bar squats, and he struggled to get into his groove coming back to these. We did safety bar squats. We do some Romanian deadlifts. We do belt squats, reverse hyperextensions, and glute ham raises. Incidentally, he's got all this rogue equipment he's bought. You guys know, so we use it. And you guys know I'm a fan of these movements, okay? Particularly the reverse hyper and the glute ham raise. I credit those movements for helping me build a 600 plus deadlift in my late 40s here, right? I credit them. Of course, he struggles with the glute ham raises because, again, his hamstrings are possibly his weakest link in his posterior chain, right? Number one. Number two, he's so tall. He's like 6'2" or 6'3". He's up there. Tall dude. So that puts a much different moment arm on those. So we're having to just build those up. He does the eccentrics and whatever he can do. All right. Then we slightly vary his second workout each week. They're very similar, but not identical. So we have a little bit of variation in here. So we'll see a little more on this day. He still does some pause benching. We do 2 rep ranges. I usually have him do a heavy top set and then a couple back off sets. Of course, he still does his rows. Instead of incline bench on this day, we usually have him do some overhead pressing. Now, for people who are like, why, I thought you don't think it's an amazing exercise anymore. That doesn't mean I don't use it though. And some of my lifters really like it. They want to get strong at it. And if they get great shoulder development from it, why wouldn't we continue to use it? And I put a lot of delt focus on him. So people might ask, I don't see you doing delt focus really, but then you have a client like this who has aesthetic goals doing it. And I think that's also would be a good point. In his case, very tall, very lanky guy. Anything I can do to get his shoulders wider. So notice we put a lot of focus on rowing. We do overhead pressing, incline, and then of course you'll notice he does upright rows here also. Again, looking at the structure of what I've got going on with the lifter. For him, shoulders and triceps make a big deal as far as getting the look he wants. The lats have come easy. It's one of the things he pointed out to me that people had noticed and he's seen in the mirror from behind. He's like, I'm so much wider from behind. And I used to neglect lats because I'm like, I'm deadlifting. I don't need to do lats, right? The deadlift gives me all the back I need, and I've got a good deadlift. He was deadlifting, over 500 pounds already. But then he's come to realize, man, I didn't have a back. He's like, now I finally have a back. And so there we have it. So in his case, that's come up. So I don't want to say, oh, that's now a big focus because we have him in a good growth place. It's been growing good. But I really, really want to emphasize for him at this point, a lot of shoulder and a lot of tricep, because that's what's going to fill him out. It's what's going to help give him the look. And I think particularly as a tall guy, like when you're looking on camera, a tall guy with really wide shoulders may not notice it in a camera, but in person, it matters. And for him, with all he's doing career-wise and stuff, it's actually really beneficial for him to just be this tall guy with wide shoulders and be lean and jacked. All right? Creates a presence. Lower body day is very similar to the other. We obviously start with the belt, with the safety bar squat. Then he does deficit deadlifts for rep work. Right? I like those deficit deadlifts. Everybody knows I like the deficit deadlift. I think this is no secret. Speaking of which, I might do these today myself. I'm filming this before my Friday workout, even though it won't be up yet. So we do that, and then of course I'm going to end the vlog because that'll put us about 10 minutes, and we don't need to see all the training footage. We just have a real good idea of what he's doing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.